All right, here we are in game number 3. Thank you for joining me today for the last ever ZOTAC North American Cup, guys. It's been a fantastic turnout so far with an amazing last set of games, and we're not even in the semifinals. Spawning here in the top left corner of the map, playing for Complexity Gaming. You can find him on Twitter at Complexity or Cole_Hendralisk. It is the Purple Zerg, Hendralisk, sorry. Did that a little too informally, but it is Hendralisk, guys. Fun fact: his name comes from his name being Henry and Henry, and his favorite unit being a Hydralisk. Thus, Hendralisk. If I could mess that up anymore, I don't think I could. His opponent in the top right. I'm gonna do my best to emphasize the K in his name, but sometimes when you're talking too fast for 30 minutes, you forget. My apologies. It is from my insanity, the Red Terran player, Jjakji. Find him on Twitter at MYI Jjakji. So, yeah, really good player. Playing around with some mech, experimenting with it, seeing how it can go. Again, this is not what you typically see out of this player, but playing around with it, he's definitely got a good grasp of it. But I think, honestly, a large part of this has to do with Hendralisk just being somewhat bewildered by the late game. You know, it's just kind of like, what do you do? How do I best go about it? I mean, I'm not saying this out of speculation. He literally asked, like, what do you normally see, you know, versus mech? And I was like, well, sometimes it's backwards what you did, but, you know, the best way to beat a mech player is before it gets to the late game, and that's the reality of it, guys. Whether it's an all-in or whether it's just, you know, good play, the best way to beat a mech player is not let them get to the stage where they've got a ton of Ravens, they've got a ton of Vikings, and an impossible to defeat army. But we'll see what Hendralisk decides to do. This is Frost, and of course, with that guise of fog of war and unknowingness, we'll be able to go command center first here. Kind of wish Hendralisk wasn't playing super greedy. I don't know how this will fare. He did go for his third hatchery very quickly, so he might not know that Jjakji went for his own fast expand, but we'll get away with this with that gas coming out as well. On Frost, the choke is actually pretty easy to hold. Third base isn't impossible to deal with, per se. But, of course, for Hendralisk, he's not going to want to take this one. The fact that he went down here, it completely had to do with him scouting towards the south, I feel, knowing that if his opponent didn't spawn here, this would be the safer one, regardless of cross-spawn or not. But it is horizontal, and that's going to be not the happiest thing to learn about as a Zerg player. Of course, you always want to hope for not horizontal spawns on this map. Not that it's an overpowered position for a Terran player, but the last thing you want to deal with is siege tanks up here, Marines pushing through the south, and a command center fortified, or not command center, your hatchery being killed by this fortification of an offense. But for now, we got the factory on the way. I just said fortification and offense in the same sentence. Someone shoot me, please. This is the problem when you solo cast. You stop thinking and you just start talking. I guess that could be said about some of my casting, though. Am I right? Anyways, Jjakji has set himself up here very defensively early on. A quicker reactor in that second gas really says to me he'll be reaching for this Banshees once again. I think the roaches in game number 1 were really cool. It definitely caught Jjakji off guard. But it's kind of one of those, like, fool me once, shame on me things, right? Like, I don't know if it would work again if that's what Hendralisk's go-to is, but versus a mech player, if he is wanting to not take this to the late game, might be a good way to go about it. Both players, though, gonna have all of their army units slightly delayed due to the greedier openings, but that's okay. Starport is confirmed, finishing up here in a second, and that tech lab I imagine will be starting in just a moment's time, but no gas being taken beyond the initial metabolic boost. No Reaper coming out too. Hendralisk should be able to tell that this will be mech for game number 3. Now, I would, honestly, like, I wish I spoke Korean so I could quickly ask Jjakji, like, hey, you know, like, do you play mech for practice, or are you just having some fun? Like, what's his plan with this? Maybe he's practicing for an upcoming clan war or something. I do know that my insanity is going to the finals of the EES versus Mouse Sports, so whether it's an option of having it available or just a generic practice scenario. Well, he's going to dance around a little bit with those Lings, but Lings don't really beat out Hellions in low numbers, sadly. This third base is a little bit exposed. Some more Speedlings going to be coming out here with a couple Queens. Cannot quite get that lock in like, you know, we built 2 evolution chambers in the Roach War and to make your natural safe and sound versus this. Does have to kind of meet it with a little bit of offensive capabilities. Started mining gas again though as Hendralisk, so perhaps looking to take that layer. Ooh, 2 drones with minerals? Tisk tisk. That's so much economy. Just gone and wasted. Jjakji though taking his own 3rd command center, albeit in base. Will be nicely safe and sound in there. Banshee push with this is again, this is something that's hilarious to see, right? Because it's something that it was the go-to. This is how you open almost every ZVT and Wings of Liberty, but hasn't been utilized in so long and has been making a bigger comeback of recent time. Banshee will be a little bit too forward. Helling's going to try and get at the top of the Lings. The Lings are not going to suicide into that by the looks of it. Cloak is on the way, and of course that double armory does mean once more our Terran player will be going mech. The Roach Warren being delayed the way it is means that, unfortunately, he's not going to have the Roaches to deal with the Hellions, and this 3rd base might take some losses. Zergling's a little bit distracted with the rocks there, gets scared enough to go to the top of the ramp. Spore Crawlers are down in these bases, and another one's coming here on the front lines to deal with the Banshee. Will not lose this game to the Banshees, but the Hellions are a whole nother question. This is a little bit scary to deal with. Roach is now on the way, but still a little bit late. The Banshee is now gone, which gives the Queens a little more leeway to move around. Does have a transfuse. Does have a transfuse. Not going to use it on the Queen. And has to be careful about how far he chases out. Lots of Lings are being traded away into this. Like, the Hellions are not going down anytime soon. And, oh god, please transfuse that lone Queen. Hendralisk. Oh, thank you. Oh my god. Like, it's one thing if you don't have the energy or if you're busy microing, but it's like, just do it. A couple of Roaches here on the front lines will be able to start pushing back the Hellions a little bit. They don't go down very quickly to the Hellion fire, thank goodness for Hendralisk, but I know he's got Roach speed on the way. He's got +1 on the way, but these are all things that are on the way, so he can't move out anytime soon. We'll be able to pick off this Banshee, though, which will be really nice. So Jjakji will not retain that for a follow-up. And if this is going to be a decisive attack, whether it's a drop, a Nidus Worm, or just a bust through the front door, he's really going to need those Banshees to help flesh out the Roaches. Oh, once again, though, we've got Ventricle Sacs, guys. Oops, sorry, double-clicked. Ventricle Sacs, guys. And Nubate's Carapace on the way. So perhaps setting up to go for some Overlord drops once again. Jjakji, the only reason he wasn't really able to hold against it last time was because the Roaches came at such an earlier time, and the Hellbats weren't out to cover the tanks. This time, there's no tanks, but already Hellbats coming out. Now, there's 2 tanks at a time. He'll eventually have these out to defend with. I don't know if Hendralisk is going to be able to hit with that same crisp timing that he really got away with in game number 1. And, of course, the Nidus Worm played a huge role into that, but it ate up a lot of resources. So that was like, you know, that's 9 less Roaches you've got available because you had to spend that money on, like, Nidus Worms and gas and what have you, but go with just Ventricle Sacs for the time being. Banelings would be fantastic for units that do stack up the way Hellbats do on top of tanks and cluster around. But again, you can never really reveal this too early. If you do, then the Terran player is not going to be caught off guard by it. And that is the biggest strength of Roach drops. Hell, any sort of drop, even for Terran players, is catching your opponent off guard. If they see it coming, then there'll be defenses ready and waiting. Helling's going to be thrown away into the Roaches here in the middle of the map. The Queens are trying to catch up off of creep into the Banshees, but it's not going to happen anytime quickly. Not making a Nidus Worm this time, so Hendralisk is just simply going to go for drops, guys. Now, this is a big dedication of resources, and if you lose the Roaches for it, but you do enough damage and you trade, you're actually okay, and it's not a big deal. But if you lose all of your Overlords with this and you don't cause enough damage, then this just became an attack that was way too dedicated and cost you the game. So a little bit worried here for Hendralisk. We'll see what happens. Another command center is on the way, and Jjakji's happily mining off of 3 bases, that is. But there's no defense currently in the main. There's 4 tanks, 4 Banshees. Honestly, I don't think this is going to work. This is, weirdly enough, like last game we saw him go for Mutalisk. If he had gotten Mutalisk this game, maybe it wouldn't, maybe he wouldn't stand a chance. There's no anti-air, a couple measly turrets not even available. Just 1 or 2 in the natural and the main mineral lines, but Overlords have been revealed. The jig is up. He has to go forward with it. There's Queens in this too for anti-air against the Banshees. Wow, that's a lot of Queens. That's like 8 Queens. How many Queens does he have available? There's 10 Queens on the map. 8 are with this army. Transfuses galore will be available. But more importantly, the Banshees will certainly go down. Roaches need to back away from this fight, though. He can't take this on the choke. Fighting into the the flame of the Hellions, or sorry, Hellbats, as well as the tank fire, not going to pan out too well. And looks like the Queens were cleaned up because of this. A couple were picked up as well, but this drop on top of the tanks, there we go. That's how we really wanted to have this go down the first time. It's eradicating the tank lines that make this so powerful. But with so many Hellbats available, Hendralisk is not going to end the game with this attack. Takes out all the tanks though, and only Hellbats and Hellions remain. He's got a lot of creep spread and Queens still standing, but the Banshees didn't go down through this attack, which is really unfortunate because with 8 Queens, you're really meant to take out those the air units that are going to be the anti-ground. Now he's able to kite away from the Hellbats slowly but surely. Lots of workers did go down there. 12 SCVs did die through that attack, but again, combination of pulling them away from the third and mules made sure that nothing too devastating happened. In the end, though, it's not like he sacrificed a lot of tech for this. He's still got +2 ranged weapons on the way. Swarm hosts are a very, very big possibility. Making this Spire is going to open up doors for tech paths and options, but still, Hendralisk is not exactly ahead or necessarily behind in this game, but he is 4 bases to 3. And honestly, that's pretty darn good as far as economy goes, but Jjakji is going to just turtle up for the time being. More tanks being made, and of course the Overlords were retained. There's actually no defense around here. He could wrap around the mineral line. He doesn't need to take a fight here. He could go through the mineral line and I feel like walk out, or even leave the Overlords here, drop and move in, move out, as weird as that is to consider. But we got some roaches heading towards the main. This will be kind of a cool tactic. It's almost like when you watch Zerg versus Zerg, right? You walk 4 roaches to your opponent's mineral line. But Jjakji saw this coming, and he's moving tanks accordingly to respond. This drop in the main's not going to get a lot done. I would love if he actually just kept these up here for now and didn't utilize them till like say 10 minutes, 5 minutes from now. But if he goes in right now, these will be dealt with immediately, I feel. Jjakji, may have actually feigned the fact that he thought, it's just Overlords, but it's not just Overlords. It's Overlords with roaches. So coming back again to the main, was secured, no longer secured. Tank Blast going to get a couple hits off, and the roaches are not going to get a whole lot done here. But the more workers he picks off, the better. Goes for the turret in the hopes, of getting a burrow off. But yeah, scan goes down and unfortunately will be cleaned up. Behind this though, guys, he's made another army. Looks like he's going to go for Overlord drops Mark II. The re-roachening. I don't know if this is going to work, though. There's so many Hellbats available, and while they don't need Blue Flame, look at that. That's 20 damage a shot. I believe that's 2 more damage than roaches do. Is there a naked roach somewhere on the map I could click? I guess not. We'll find out in a second. Although he does have +2 weapon upgrades, will be pretty decent, but lots of anti-air here. He's going to hit several bases at once. I love these multiple drop tactics being employed here by Hendralisk, and Jjakji's tanks are going to do a lot of friendly fire, but not enough friendly fire. Hellbats still stand, and the tanks are still alive. I don't think a lot of damage really got done there, and he just threw away a lot of supply. A lot of supply, not to mention a lot of the Overlords went down too. The Hellbats are pretty good, and these tactics are cool, and they're fun, but they're not going to work out. We got 17 Mutalisks being made behind this, though, and this is going to be fantastic. You look at the production right now of Jjakji. He is tunneling into the vision, or tunnel visioning into the fact that he thinks more roaches are coming, more roach drops are coming, so more Hellbats are being invested into. He's got a small Viking count and a couple missile turrets, but what realistically is a lot of Mutalisks to take out the tanks. If he takes out these tanks, then further drops will actually suddenly be more viable once again. I would love if he went and dropped these 2 roaches before these turrets completed, or 2 Overlords full of roaches. I don't think he's going to do it though. Mutalisks are hiding once again, feeling confident that he can make this work. This time, it just may. Last time, there was a lot of Ravens, Vikings, as well as Thors available. This time, not really the case. Overlords are going to move in here, and they'll pick off a couple turrets, so it'll actually make more room for the Mutalisks later, but getting the sensor tower is a very expensive building, so not a bad snipe there. One roach being burrowed. It's not going to get a lot done, sadly. Things are going to fortify this up quite nicely. A couple of roaches positioned up here could hold position and kill a couple units too, but of course for Hendralisk, I don't think he knows about that base. Oh, he does. Okay, never mind. But Jjakji's spread out really nicely. As a meching player, it's really hard to decide where you put your army because so much of it is slow and you can't really unsiege and reposition too easily. So maybe mobility from the Mutalisks is really going to come into favor, but we got the Corporate Reactor on the way, which means eventually the... you know what, it's kind of funny we bring this up. So Ravens with Seeker missiles, right? It's kind of the same idea as a Radiate. You watch Starbow games right now, and I'm so sorry. People are going to hate me for bringing Starbow up. But like, it's really important. When you watch Starbow games, right? Mutalisk clump and a Radiate eradicates them. Because you can't figure out which one is targeted to remove it. The same sort of problem is going to present itself when Hendralisk has so many Mutalisks. 5 of them are going to be tagged with Seeker missiles. Selecting all 5 of them individually and moving them out is going to be so difficult to do without the highest level of micro and control. Ooh, Hellbats down here are going to be a bit of a problem. Might force him to reveal his Mutalisk a little bit earlier than perhaps he wanted to. No. Okay, just Lings and Ro8 to respond. So not going to give too much away from this just yet. The army, though, of Jjakji. Gosh, guys, there's no anti-air here at all. There's like 3 Vikings and that's it, and that's not going to do it. This Mutalisk flock is going to catch him so off guard away from the turrets. This is 36 Mutalisks with +1 weapon upgrade. How many tanks can they kill is going to be the big question, because this will open the door to the Roaches, right? But focusing on the turrets instead, oh god, there's a couple Vikings here, but there's just really no solid anti-air. Thors are coming at 2 at a time, but they will be delayed. If he focus fires down the tanks, and the Roaches come in, no problem to deal with the Thors, right? Like, that's the nice trade-off here. Thors are great against Mutalisks, but they can't really contend with large amounts of Roaches or Lings. This base will be shut down. These 4 extra orbitals coming down next to it will also be killed most likely. This is 37 Mutalisks. Surprise, surprise, Jjakji. Even this base in the lower right, the planetary fortress will fall. We got a couple Hellbats poking away these hatcheries that have been set up. Ninja bases, if you will. But 40 Mutalisks remain. And 2 geysers have been stripped away from our meching Terran player. Now for Jjakji at this point, not able to, he can't afford to make Ravens. Not because of the cost of them, well, partially because of the cost of them, but mostly because he needs to be producing, you know, Vikings, Thors, these units that are going to take up a lot of his actual building queue time. Like, you can't queue up Ravens behind 4 Vikings at a time, especially when you've got tech labs building them out. So this is a little bit scary to consider. Banshee's going to be the killing blow to this base. Blue Flame is going to allow this Hellbat to kill a couple more Lings before it goes down, but Hendralisk did take he just decisively took control of this game in a big way. Not because of anything other than catching his opponent off guard. Much left to Hendralisk, but, you know, 40 Mutalisks, 50 Mutalisks, well, scary, can still go down if clumped to a couple of Thor volleys. So it's really important that Hendralisk plays this game out smart from here to the end. He's secured himself a bit of a lead in that regard, but can lose it in a moment's time if he doesn't. One small mistake, one small. What is he doing? Bring the Overseers here. Almost loses this base. One more hit, I think, would have finished it. Anyways. Thor's being made en masse right now, and this is kind of what Hendralisk wants. If he gets rid of the tank count and it's just pure Thors, a Rotary Max will win him this game. But it's one of those things that's a lot easier said than done. Splitting up the Mutalisks to go harass the base is going to be a lot better than taking a head-on fight. He should not fight this army. He should instead be using this. Well, hold the phone. He gets a nice magic box on top of this. Lots of Thors are here, but spreading out the Mutalisks is going to minimize the damage they take. He's got to be careful. There's turrets down to engage into this. Thors are not going down very quickly, and a lot of the Mutalisks have gone down. In fact, almost half of them at this point. Realistically, what he should have done was wrapped around here to the north, picked off this base. He could have done that for free with just the Mutalisks and not given away any Roaches. But again, not a bad fight despite how bad that went. 20 more Mutalisks are being remade. Neither player has any resources right now, and these guys are just insane. But clumped up around here does have to be careful. I love the Overlords. Whether they're accidental or on purpose, what these are doing is giving those Thors, like if they auto-attack, the first thing they're going to auto-attack is the closest unit. The Overlords, not the Mutalisks. So clumping up, not exactly the end of the world. But lots of Lings coming out. We got lots of Roaches will probably follow suit. This macro hatchery, I didn't even see it go down, but is in a fantastic position. And Hendralisk is starting to mine from the lower right corner of the base, or corner of the map rather. And Jjakji's stuck on what is basically one base mining. Mutalisks do come in and they're trying to spread out, but they start off a little bit too clumped. This might be too many bats in the damn air, though, guys. There's just so much and not enough anti-air to deal with this. No point defense throws, no secret missiles. The Thors go down like nothing, and with 34 Mutalisks, the planetary fortress will fall. And Jjakji, who has no money and almost no income, cannot afford to lose this base. Hendralisk has taken control of this game in a big way, and he's looking to be ahead in an even bigger way. But his supply count, while it is leading, is nothing that can take this army head on. Again, between missile turrets, Thors, and tanks, it's a pretty strong defense for Jjakji. That being said, it's not like we have Broodlords coming out anytime soon. We got no upgrades on these Lings other than +2 armor. These are not the most deadly forces in the world. But if Hendralisk can starve Jjakji out, he will lose this game to attrition. But looking for ninja bases right now, making sure that Jjakji has not secured a base anywhere else on the map to make sure that Hendralisk is in fact as far ahead as he thinks he is. He's spreading out units, and he will find that he's in a pretty good spot. But as with all StarCraft 2 games, the longer you give your opponent to recover, the harder it's going to be to end the game. With 29 SCVs mining though, and mules to help make up that difference, I'm not sure that'll matter too much. But the Mutalisks are desperately clumped, and that's still... If he loses 38 Mutalisks, guys, to like 3 Thor volleys, he's never going to forgive himself. These are 3-3 mech, like, units. This is... not going to be the easiest thing to deal with. And if he keeps clumping like this and runs into the position wrong just once, it could cost him his whole army value. And Hendralisk is also playing very close to his economy here, where he doesn't have a huge mineral bank. He doesn't have a lot to fall back on if this fails type thing. But Jjakji knows he's in a rough spot. The orbital was lifted. The command center has been relanded, rather. Gonna lose another command center though. Jjakji, well, he's got a ton of them, is starting to run out, and his economy is really not in a good spot. Mutalisks going towards the main might be a good way to wrap around. Again, the Overseers are buffering for the Mutalisks. I love this. I love this move. I've never seen anyone do that, but it's working out fantastically. Thors are going to shred these Mutalisks, but look at that split coming out of Hendralisk, taking on these Thors like nobody's business, still losing a lot of his Mutalisks in the process, but still, the Thors are a lot harder to replace because Hendralisk has bases, he has mining, he has a bank, and he wins the game 3 versus Jjakji, taking on one of the best Koreans Europe currently has to offer. He needs a breather, guys. I'm positive, because I know I do. I wasn't even playing that game. Congratulations to Hendralisk, who moves on to the semifinals. And his opponent is going to be... Violet. I hope Hendralisk's ZVZ is ready, because he'll be going on to fight against Violet next, guys. I'm going to